Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Activities for People Living at Home with Dementia. We are proud to offer this series with funding from the Area Agency on Aging and the United Way of Tarrant County. These programs are recorded and are made available for viewing through a YouTube channel for future use. I am your host for today's activities. Our topic today is school, brought to you by Peggy Spear with the Amon Carter Museum of American Art. Peggy, I've been thinking about buses for days, and I'm wondering if you're going to have a bus for us today. I can't wait to see. It's all yours.
We can't hear you, Peggy.
Peggy, you're muted.
No, I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Martha, I don't have any buses in this one, but you and I must have been on the same wavelength because for next month, one of the topics will be buses. Because as I was going through this, I was thinking, man, there's so many bus images that weren't necessarily school related.
Uh-huh.
So anyway.
Ooh, good.
Right. We're sticking to school today. Let me pull it up. And I thought we'd have more. We have quite a variety of different school images. So this is what we're going to look at. And it I feel like it kind of captures the gamut of school scenarios. This one I just love. This is high school typing class. And this is a very focused young man.
Yeah, he's very focused, all right.
What was that, Paulette?
Yes, he is very focused, it looks like.
Yeah.
It looks like he's using the two-finger method.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my word.
Yeah.
And I feel when I saw this, I laughed because you see his posture, then you see the man directly above him.
Yeah.
The correct way to be typing. And this poor man's just a few inches away from his keyboard, really zooming in.
Struggling.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many of you took typing classes when you were in school? Probably you.
I did.
Oh, you all did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
I was afraid of the keys. I didn't want to have keys with no letters on them. So I taught myself at home.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
I was encouraged to do it because it's science related. They told me that computers were going to be using typewriters. So that's the only reason I got into it.
Yeah.
And I took 2 years of it.
Oh, did you really?
Mhm.
Are you still a really good typer?
No.
No. Is anybody a good typer?
I am.
You are, Paulette. And
I am.
Martha, you are too.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a
I
big
use the
deal.
Columbus method. I just try to find a key and land on it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before. That's cute.
Phil, please send that to Reader's Digest. Seriously, they might pay you money for that. That is really cute.
It is. We took, I took computer. That was the typing we had in elementary school. So we had computers, but they were like the really, really old IBMs.
That dates you a little bit. I'm sorry.
I know.
Yes.
I'm
Computers
showing
in
my
elementary
age.
school. Yes. Yes.
But yeah, but we did have to take typing, which
Yeah.
now, I mean, we type so much.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's typed. I don't even
I
know.
will tell you this, that it helped me, my typing skills helped me tremendously
Oh, yeah.
because my engineering is a lot of paperwork.
Oh, I bet.
Mhm.
The sad thing about it is that, many of the kids know how to type on phones, but they have no idea what to do with a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't know, they don't know word processing, they don't know anything else. And so when I had kids try and type documents, they had no idea what to do. They couldn't figure out what to do.
And spelling is really
That
bad.
would be frustrating. Yeah.
Even with spell checking, they still couldn't figure it out.
No, but I'm saying spelling, I mean, if they were to be, free typing, there's no spell check with this. So
Right,
everything now, we didn't have spell check growing up on computers growing up. So yeah, spelling isn't a thing really anymore. Everything's auto-corrected. But oh, go ahead.
My autocorrect was a little vial of whiteout.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, when IBM Selective came out with the corrective ribbon,
Oh, that was
really
great.
changed things too. Yeah.
Yes. They were.
But IBM also came out with, I can't remember what it was called, but it wasn't a regular typewriter because I used it in college. It's a typesetting. It was for
Oh, really?
typesetters. And so it had special balls in it to set type and spacing
Cool.
for pages, doing print, newsprint and things like that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Learning so much today.
I know. So this particular photograph is one of a series that this female photographer, Esther Bubley, took on an assignment that was given to her through the Standard Oil of New Jersey. And so I don't think we've talked much about this man, Roy Stryker, who ran the Standard Oil of New Jersey photography program. He also worked for several government agencies at different points too. But this man, Roy Stryker, was responsible for so much of how we saw America in the early 1900s because so many projects came from him. So go ahead.
Could you repeat that? I thought you said another name besides Esther Bubley.
I did. Roy Stryker was who she worked for at Standard Oil. I didn't say that, but she worked for him at Standard Oil of New Jersey. And so Roy, through Standard Oil or through other government agencies, headed up many photography projects that shaped a lot of how the U.S. was seeing the U.S. at that time. And so this particular series is taken in Tumble, Texas, which is right outside Houston. And the charge for this particular project was to show everything had a drop of oil in it. And so working for the oil company, that makes sense. And so these photographs are of this town in Texas that while this might not show necessarily how everything has a drop of oil in it, this town was a company town for Houston Oil Company. And so there were a few hundred people, all white people, living in this particular community. And she came down and, a Northeasterner coming down to this kind of, it would be completely foreign land to her, and photographing what life looked like as in an oil town, in a very almost, it was like so ordered and so curated what this town looked like. It didn't almost feel like real life. So this is just one of an example of several photographs she took of everyday life in this town. Has anyone ever been to Tumble, Texas? You have?
I've been through it.
Oh, okay.
Humble, Texas, where is it located?
It says outside of Houston. I think
It's a little north of Houston, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how. There might have been there was the oil boom, and then I think there was kind of the ghost town element to it. But so I'm not sure what Tumble looks like now. But at this time, it was really thriving, and the company set up this city, and there was maybe another little town and another little community where the employees were living here and then coming into to work.
So they had everything. They had a company store and everything they needed to live there, right?
And there's some much later in the 80s, a reporter went back and interviewed some of the people that Esther photographed. And some of the sentiment was that there was an order to life that felt very comfortable for this community. And this was during the war too, or at least the end of the war. So it was kind of a shift of photography. It's not necessarily depicting the economic despair and the war effort here in the United States. This was kind of showing the prosperity of the United States through the oil.
In 1905, the Humble oil field was the largest producing
Pump oil, yeah.
oil field in Texas.
Well,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was, I'm not sure then if it might have been on its way out, but yeah, once oil was discovered there, then there was a big move to be in that area.
I like the irony of this picture. The picture of the guy sitting right up, and the picture of the guy sitting there sitting wrong. I like that.
Mhm. And his hand too is not right. He's got his fingers
Nope.
curled.
That's right. It's not straight up and down.
His elbows are winging out and not going,
Yep.
you know, it just all of it.
Yep.
And here now, the office, we have standing desks and everything. Like I can raise and lower my desk.
Yeah.
And we have to do these like ergonomic testing. It's so funny because like, you know, they weren't doing that then. It was just like, learn to type, kid.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna go to so this is a photograph. We're now moving to a print, and we've seen a print by this particular artist before, William Gropper, and he was a cartoonist, sectorialist living in New York City, Lower East Side, where he grew up. And coming from a Jewish family, his parents were immigrants. He was one of 6 kids, and we're living in a Jewish neighborhood in New York. So here, what do we see?
We see kind of a schoolroom, I guess.
Yeah.
It
Hebrew
would
school.
yeah, it'd be Hebrew school because the gentleman has the I can't remember what this called, but it has the tassels on it
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
there and the cap.
Yep.
The kids
Yeah.
look bored. The kids look bored because they got to read Hebrew.
But shouldn't they be wearing yarmulkes too then?
No, younger ones didn't usually, not unless they were in the synagogue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Most people didn't unless they were in synagogue, unless they were a teacher.
Yeah, I'm not completely familiar with the practice and protocol of Judaism or the different sects within or the different branches within it. But this is a rabbi, you are right. And this artist often depicted rabbis. It was a popular subject of his. And yeah, and then you see the boys, it might be Torah study. We don't see what's written in their books, but yes, they're all bored. And I mean, and I don't know if anybody went to Sunday school growing up, Jewish or not. You did, Martha. Yeah. So you might be able to relate to this. This is not how I want to spend my Sunday.
Yeah.
Or, and with Hebrew school, often it's on Sunday and it's often on Tuesday or Wednesday night, another week in the night right after school. So yeah, these kids are probably a little worn ragged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wrong. It's not a schoolroom. It's got poles. They're holding a sheet up to divide.
Yeah, I feel like they might just be in the basement of a synagogue or something. You know, there's not a formal classroom, but
Okay.
a
Yeah.
makeshift type of situation. And so the artist himself was raised, well, his parents were immigrants from Eastern Europe, and they did not want to do with anything to do with the Jewish religion at all. But his grandparents said, well, we will not have a relationship with you unless we get to raise them Jewish. So his grandparents were the ones that were taking the kids to the synagogue in New York. And he has written that he had an abusive rabbi as a child in the basement of the synagogue in Lower East Side. So he might not have had the best relationship with Judaism growing up. And then as he got, some of his pictures were maybe not the most sympathetic, or they weren't anti-Semitic, but they weren't maybe necessarily showing Judaism in the best light. As he got older, and after he read about and saw what the Nazis had done to the Jewish population, he started celebrating his religion a little more than he ever had in his entire life. And so, you know, this is an example of, it's not showing any, you know, it's not a knock on Judaism at all. It's just the reality of sending, a child being in some sort of school.
Mhm.
So this looks more like a caricature of a rabbi than a real rabbi.
Yeah, I mean, and it
Yeah.
could have been inspired by a rabbi he knew or someone he made up in his head, but he was really good at caricature drawing. So he, was able to distill the essence just in what he's wearing. So we knew exactly who he was, even though we don't know who this person is. So this is, just another type of school, especially as a child. You might remember going to some sort of religious school. And he was, I mentioned when we looked at him in the past, we looked at a shtetl, the Jewish village. He was accused, he was brought in front of the Senate during the McCarthy trials and here in Congress, and he was found to be guilty after pleading the fifth. And so he was essentially blacklisted from galleries, art making, public forum. So
Say that again. Is this during McCarthy?
yeah, he was accused of being a communist. And then
Yes.
was actually brought to trial.
Yeah.
Was found guilty. And so he was, exhibitions of his were canceled. People stopped buying his art. So it really set him back in his career when he was found guilty. All right, so now we go from Sunday school to regular school. Well, not quite regular school. This is boarding pupils at Ogallala. I'm not saying it right. Ogallala. Yep, thank you. Boarding and community high school having lunch. So obviously we see them having lunch. Can you kind of walk through what's happening in this photograph?
Well, what year was this in? 38 to 41. Okay.
Yeah. So are any of you familiar with a lot of American Indians were sent to boarding schools to assimilate to American culture? Very heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was.
How their cultures, their languages were just completely eviscerated through the Bureau of Indian Affairs. This was set up. And so it started that Indian children would go to school on their reservation up until a certain point, and then they were pulled from their tribal homes and sent to these boarding schools. It started shifting in the 1900s to being day schools, or they would commute and maybe not board there, but it was the sole intent of completely removing them from tribal life, which, I mean, I was reading more about this. I know we know a lot about it, but reading more about it is just so heartbreaking, thinking that you could do this to cultures across the country.
If I remember right, the first thing they did to each of the child is cut their hair.
Yeah.
Yep.
They wouldn't allow any long hair at all. Even with the girls, they cut it short.
You can see here all the little boys, mostly little boys. There's a couple of little girls,
Yep.
and they have almost like bobs.
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally heartbreaking. And before they could teach them any sort of geometry or social studies or whatever, they had to teach them English, and they would not let them speak in whatever their native tongue was.
Right. Yeah.
It was awful. So here we see these students at a boarding school, but you can't help but notice the mural.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And that was painted by one of the students in the school, a young boy, Calvin, I think was his name. And he was showing the things that they've learned through their education. And what hits me as kind of interesting is they seem more of their tribal type of learning versus the American culture type of learning.
Well, and I think some of it depicts Indians as
I think it's
subservient
right.
to the other
Right.
people.
If you look at the three in the middle, the two chiefs,
Yeah.
white man,
Yep.
supposedly, he's the taller of them. He's the leader. He's the one that's more important.
Yeah. And the other one with the dog, it shows the two people with the dog and the Indian's on the same level as the dog, even though he's petting him.
Yeah.
You guys are picking up on some really wonderful stuff. Yeah. So I'm not sure what's happening here, but we're also seeing things that so these are part of the Lakota tribe. There's 7 nations within the Lakota. So this is a Sioux, one of the nations. Yeah. They're still doing things that are identified as Native American. So here you see a woman on a loom, which they were not teaching that at, or they would not have approved of that. I'm not 100% sure if this is the boarding school called Park Ridge. There's a lot written about if it is. It was a pretty progressive boarding school in that they didn't completely eviscerate their tribal practices. So the fact that they're showing some of their, weaving, or yes, he is down on a level with the animal, but he's still engaging with an animal versus him learning from a math book. Yep. This feels very something that they could be doing on their reservation, helping with, livestock. The same thing here, you see, while they are using, modern technology, which they're human, they are moving with the technology. It's still something that's of the land. Roping this calf, still something that they might be doing. And then you're seeing what is probably insinuating crops or agriculture. Yep. So, and then you're seeing their native dress, while you're seeing a lot of people in, traditional American clothing, you're still seeing native garb. Yeah. So, it's kind of like they're masking, while it looks like they're showing all the things we're learning, it's not necessarily things they might have learned at the school, because it's not textbook.
The Aguala basically is a Sioux Indian. It's Sioux Lakota. They're all part of the Sioux Indian Nation. And the largest gathering is in Pine Ridge Reservation, South Dakota. So that might be where this is.
That's what I think. It wasn't identified as Pine Ridge, so I don't want to assign it at the wrong school, because Pine Ridge was kind of a standout compared to other boarding schools. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, while we're seeing a bunch of young American Indian, Sioux children at the meal, this looks like any American cafeteria.
I remember those pitchers they used for water. I remember those.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, those aluminum pitchers that they had.
And would you use, it looks like the aluminum cups or cans?
Well, I don't know, but I remember the pitcher and the table, that style.
And would you sit on little stools, or did you have benches?
Well, when I went to it, basically they had the already made in stools, so it wasn't the individual stools.
Yeah.
But I can envision this was more like when I worked with the Boy Scouts, what they'd have.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Yeah, because that's where I remember some of those pictures when I worked with the Boy Scouts.
Yep. And the tin cups.
Same cup, tin cups.
10 bowls, I guess.
Yeah. Well, tin, or sometimes they're plastic, sometimes they're pottery.
Okay.
Depends on the, what to do with. A lot of them were melamine.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, because they were sturdy enough where kids couldn't break them.
Yeah. I have a new love for melamine now that I have kids of my own.
Yeah. There used to be a place. There used to be a store in Dallas that's basically all they sold was melamine. I don't think it's there anymore, because we went there. My wife loved the bowls. The bowls you could get. And so we went there and got one time with a friend, but I don't think the store is there anymore. It's not as popular as it used to be.
I know it's not. And I think it's making a comeback in my circle, at least. And I think it's just because of the age or the phase in life we're in. But I don't remember having much of it growing up or whatever.
Yeah.
How'd you spell melamine?
It's like name brand, like Tupperware. That's
MELMAC.
MEL.
MAC. It's
MAC.
Melmac or melamine.
Malamine. Yeah.
MELAMINE.
Yeah.
All right, we've got one more. Another photograph.
Oh,
It's just too dang cute.
it is.
Yeah.
So this is taken, and I emailed the curator right before our session because I could not find anything about this photograph, this series of photographs, about Elliot Porter's trip to China. So there's not much I can say about it except that he went with his son, Jonathan, and they were some of the first Americans that Nixon allowed to enter China. And the trip was very scripted and very detailed, or very watched. Every minute of it was planned out. So there was no steering off course or off the schedule.
I understand that because I went in, let me think, it was early 2000s, I think 2005, and it was still that way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we moved into a hotel at the university where we're teaching at, and secret police moved in above us. Every place we went, there were people that were watching us.
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
every move we made, there was somebody that was observing what was happening.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, this probably sounds very much like what Porter's trip was then. And so he did get to go to a factory, and I don't even know what type. And this was the daycare where the workers would drop their children off before they went to work.
Oh, really?
So it's a little, they're preschooler age. Bye, Steve.
Bye. See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Bye.
There are some preschool yummies just sitting here, cuter than all get out.
Yes.
I mean, this little girl in particular just like has a heart. But, you know, I think, Martha, we talked about it in the past one with the joggers in New York Park. This is kind of uncharacteristic of Porter because they're people.
It is, yes. He does leaves and grapes and
Yeah, everything but
uh-huh.
seals reclining on the beach. I mean, he's
Yes.
not at all. And this just it feels a little out of character for him.
But his
But it's
blues
still
are really blue.
The what? The blues are really blue.
Yes.
I was just going to say, but his colors feel true to him. And it's got that really saturated feel to the, you know, even the red, the yellows, they all feel very opaque.
Yes.
And these
Yes.
little chairs,
Aren't they the cutest thing?
so cute.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody now in Fort Worth ISD area is back in school and back in the swing of it. So that's why this week felt like you can't avoid school. I'm sure you're seeing school buses now on the road, and you probably got pictures from grandchildren, or you saw your neighbors out front taking pictures in front of the house with their little sign. So
School zones are active.
school zones are active. Yeah. And some have masks, some don't have masks. What a weird time to be going back to school, but here we are.
Isn't it? Peggy, this has been so wonderful.
And
Yeah,
some
Peggy.
school districts have closed down because of COVID. A couple of them in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's
I think
one.
Steve- Go ahead.
There's one city down by Houston that is, the city's essentially shut down because every building and every business and every school is infected. So they're shutting down until it gets till they're better.
Yeah, we'll be curious to see what happens over the next month now that Pfizer has been fully approved, and more people, adults, will need to get vaccinated, because that's what will protect our children.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Peggy.
next week I'm back with y'all, and we are doing Labor Day in honor of Labor Day.
In
Yeah.
honor of Labor Day.
All right, friends. I'll see you next
Bye.
week. Good.
Peggy, have a great day.
Oh, thank you too. Bye, y'all.
Okay, let's see what's coming up tomorrow. Whoops. Nope, it's not sharing, is it?
There it is. Oh, it was.
It
And
stopped?
then it went away.
Okay, let me try it again. You know, the bird is laughing at me. Nia, moving to heal with Emily Corbin. Exercise in our chairs. Because I have a broken foot, this is just wonderful for me. I'm not getting to do my regular yoga, so this is really being helpful to me to stay mobile and keep my joints moving. I hope y'all find it helpful as well.
Yes.
Good, good. And this is Wednesday.
Yep.
Middle of the week.
That's right. Let me stop our recording and we'll move right on into Fifth Street Cafe.